Hello and welcome to today's Midlife Dating Clinic. Very briefly, I'll just say who I am. I'm Catherine Baldwin. Many of you know me. I am a love, dating, and relationship coach, the author of a book you can see just behind me called How to Fall in Love. And I host workshops, I host women's retreats, hope to do one next year. And I coach people in groups and one-to-one to overcome their dating and relationship challenges and find a healthy and happy relationship. I draw on my own experience of doing that. So I'm married at 48. I've been married for 6 years and I have coached lots of women into healthy and loving partnerships, engagements, cohabiting marriages. I even have a couple of babies in my client list, women who have come to me quite early in life and who have gone on to have a family. The majority of the people I work with are females in midlife who are, let's just say their lives haven't gone to plan. Many of the people I work with are childless, not by choice, or they have some heartache or pain around relationships. So this segment, this session today is on overcome your dating blocks. And you might want to, if you're in a position to do so, you might just want to pop in the chat while I'm speaking your blocks if you're aware of them. What comes up when you think of blocks? And if you just pop a few words in if you can, and I will carry on speaking. Because I think we have the superficial blocks, things that feel like blocks to dating, time, the marketplace, let's call it that, the quality of people out there on dating apps, dating sites, real life events. So we have some of these superficial blocks, and I can help you with those. And my previous session was called Revive Your Dating Life, and we talked a little bit more at surface level about some of the steps you can take if you want to go dating. But this particular session is about the deeper blocks. So this is the work that I love doing. If you know me, you'll know that this is where I go. I like to go really deep and I like to understand what lies beneath our struggles with having a healthy and loving relationship. So the first block, I just want to talk about time and then what might lie beneath that. So many of us think, oh, I don't have time for a relationship. I don't have time to date. Even if I get a date, I don't have time to go on more than one or two. And for me, because that's very familiar with me from my late 30s, early 40s, for me, beneath that, there is usually fear. So fear, I could talk about fear for the next hour, but fear for me is one of our biggest blocks. Now, let's talk about what the fear might be. On a more surface level, the fear of showing up on a date, not knowing what to say, not knowing what to wear, not feeling good enough, not feeling comfortable. And on a deeper level, what this touches into are our self-worth wounds, our self-esteem wounds, are, am I good enough? Am I lovable on a really deep level? And when we ask those questions, we have to look back at our past and the experiences that led us to form beliefs about ourselves. So, am I lovable? Well, if my parents didn't necessarily treat me that way, or if I was sometimes loved and sometimes neglected, or if my parents divorced, as they did in my case, and my dad moved out, or if I didn't feel seen or heard or understood, then I will have self-esteem wounds. And I will think, gosh, maybe I'm not lovable. And so the problem with dating is we fear that it's going to confirm that. That maybe if I go dating, it will be confirmed that I'm not lovable, that I'm not good enough. They will find out all about me and they will see me for who I am and inside this murkiness and this part of me that isn't lovable. So we might have a fear that we're not good enough and we're not lovable. And we might have a fear of rejection and abandonment that might also come from our early lives. So if I show up as my true, authentic self and reveal all of myself, the likelihood is, in my mind, the likelihood is that I will be rejected and abandoned. Because my experience as a child was I show up as my true, authentic self. I have a voice, I speak my truth, and I'm rejected, I'm abandoned, I'm not loved in the way that I need to be loved. And this is why in dating, in relationships, we get into these behaviors, these inauthentic behaviors. Oh, I'll just massage the truth a little bit, or I won't stand up for myself, or I won't express my needs and wants. I won't be honest about how I feel about them not showing up on time or about the comment that they've just made. I won't set a boundary because if I show up authentically, I may not be safe. And this happens in dating and it happens in early stage relationship and it happens even deeper into a relationship. What if I tell the truth? Maybe they will leave. Maybe they'll get angry with me. So this is one of the fears. You know, I might be rejected, I might be abandoned, I might be found to not be good enough. And if we go dating with those feelings and fears, then we're going to do one of two things. We're kind of going to do it half-heartedly. So we're going to go on a website, but not, or on an app, but not participate or not move forwards to the next date, or we're going to sabotage. So we're going to sabotage by deliberately choosing people who aren't good for us, who aren't right for us, who are emotionally distant. I just put an article on Substack saying that, you know, my pattern was I dated unavailable men, by which I mean alcoholics, workaholics, people who lived on different continents, people who were married to someone else or partnered with someone else, men who were gay. I fell for those people. And then I ran from reliable, kind, supportive, emotionally available, who wanted to commit to me. Because the prospect of being close to someone who really wanted to love me and who I might love was frightening because I might get hurt. So we're talking about, for anyone who's just joined, we're talking about the top level blocks to dating, for example, time, or there isn't a good quality of people out there. And then what might lie beneath that? Fear, fear that I might not be good enough, fear that I might not be lovable, fear that someone will see me for who I am, not entirely lovable, because that might be our childhood message, and fear of abandonment and rejection. And another block related to this is the craving. So some of us might be craving love, affection, intimate relationship, comfort. I mean, who isn't? You know, we're human. We're craving, we really want this close connection with someone, of course, because we're human. But when it's a craving, then we override our intuition. We don't show up authentically. We don't show up honestly. We hide the truth and we override our intuition when our intuition says, this isn't a good person for me. This isn't the right person for me. So I want you to think about your fears. I want you to think about where your desire for a healthy relationship lies on the scale of kind of reasonable to total craving. Um, and then these fears and these cravings, they lead into certain patterns. So we're talking about avoidant patterns, which can look that can look like a few things. An avoidant pattern can look like I just don't go dating at all. An avoidant pattern can look like I go dating all the time and I'm always in relationships, but the people I am dating are not emotionally available. So that is also an avoidant pattern. And I used to think I'm not avoidant, I'm not love avoidant, because I'm always trying to find someone to love. But the fact was, I was always dating people who weren't emotionally available, so I was avoidant. So those fears and cravings can show up as an avoidant pattern or as an addictive pattern. So I keep going for the same types, I keep falling for people, I fantasize, I obsess, I struggle to set boundaries, um, I struggle to contain my imagination. Um, so just have a think about the avoidant or the addictive patterns. Um, so fears, cravings, and the patterns that that are formed out of this. And for me, it's all about understanding what is my makeup, what goes on inside of me. We have to get way beyond the that conversation about there are no good people out there. The marketplace is full of losers, or um, I'm not saying that there aren't challenges, especially with the online dating space, but we change what we can. And unless you have superpowers, I'm not sure you can change the online dating space or the marketplace. What you can change, and you do have a superpower for, is you can change yourself. You can change your self-esteem. You can change your confidence. You can change the level of fear that you show up with. You can change the authenticity that you show up with. You can be more authentic. You can get help. You can get support. You can change whether you're going to do it on your own or do it with help. So there's a lot you can change. So whenever your head goes to, oh, there's nobody out there, it's hopeless, it's pointless, I'd love you to think about the inner blocks, the things that you can change, the fears, the cravings. Turn down the volume on the craving by loving yourself, meeting your own needs, um, having joy in your life, having purpose in your life, having fulfillment in your life. All that turns down the craving, turns down the volume on the craving, as well as really understanding the wound that might be driving you. And then we look at our patterns. Am I being avoidant? Am I being addictive? And there's a question I want you to hold in mind, and it's quite a cute question. So hopefully this will stay in your mind. And I'm going to wrap up this bit in a moment. Is who's driving my bus? So you're a bus and somebody's at the steering wheel. And that is either your mature, confident adult with healthy self-esteem, with a voice, with authenticity, with the volume turned down on their cravings. So just imagine you're driving the bus and sit up tall and get your hands on the steering wheel. I'm in my adult. I am driving my bus. And the choices I make are rational, reasonable, and they're based on how I feel. How do I feel about this person? How do I feel when I'm with this person? And they're based on the present, not the wounds of your past. So is your adult driving your bus, or is there a small child driving your bus? And I say that with the utmost compassion because often my child is driving my bus. So when a child is driving the bus, they're driven by compulsions. impulsivity, got to get my needs met now, um, craving to be loved, craving to be seen, fear of having a voice, fear of setting boundaries, fear of stepping out of our comfort zones. So who's driving your bus? And it could be somewhere in between the child and the adult. But just think about that, and think about I'm going to go down the driving analogy. Think about the mirror signal maneuver. Because what I used to do when I was dating was maneuver. I'll maneuver. I'll jump into bed with someone or I'll kiss them. And what we want to think about is mirror, have a look around, have a look inside. What is going on here? Signal. So, in the signal moment, think about your boundaries. Am I overstepping my boundaries? Am I throwing myself under the bus? And then you move. Then you make a maneuver. So I'm going to leave that little bit there. Fears, cravings, patterns, and who's driving your bus. So I am going to look and see what's in the chat, and I'll carry on with the recording for the next 10 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, or if you don't understand anything that I've said, or you'd like me to repeat it, pop that in the chat, and then after about 10 minutes, I'll switch the cameras off, the recording off. Okay, so I'm going to read this out loud, but anonymously. I'm inclined to dismiss men when something crops up that I don't like and jump ship, perhaps too soon if I'm in a relationship. Currently seeing a good man, but struggling with my own issues around my hopes and expectations, and him not being particularly good looking, being 7 years older, and other things that irritate me. But he has a lot of good qualities at a deeper level, and I'm aware that the dating pool is so small at my age. We have a good time together, but it's not a grand passion or anything. This man is emotionally available, consistent, kind, wants to commit, and I'm often having to stop myself from running away when I become critical about the things I don't like about him and focus too much on those side issues. Brilliant, brilliant question. This is so on the money for what I like to talk about, and also very, very familiar to me from my own experience. So something to bear in mind is criticism and judgment creates distance in a relationship. So whenever you criticize or judge someone, you literally push them away, whether you do it out loud or whether there's a bit of a vibe. So that's creating distance. And two things might be happening. Your intuition might be saying, this isn't the right relationship for me. But what I really want you to hold in mind is your fear might be saying that I am frightened of true emotional intimacy. And so what can I do around here? Oh, I know, I can criticize and judge, and I can push this person away and create some distance. And then I can stay safe, because it's really frightening to it's really frightening to do a lot of the things that I mentioned there. It's frightening to trust, somebody else has written, and I'll come to that in a moment. It's frightening to make a choice, to make a decision, to choose one person. Because when we choose one person, that means we can't choose anyone else. And if we've had a challenging childhood, if we've experienced lack, it can be difficult to make a choice that cuts off the other choices. When we decide one thing, there's a blog years ago on my blog about decide. It comes from the Latin word decidere, and that literally means to cut off the other option, to kill the other option. So you're killing an option. You're killing options when you make one choice. And that can be really frightening for someone who might have had experiences of lack or not having enough. It's like, I've got to make this one choice. What if I make the wrong choice? And the other thing about, about the hopes and expectations. So the other legacy of an imperfect upbringing, which obviously we have all had to some degree, is that we have a bit of a fantasy. We have an idea, we call it the fantasy of perfect care, that there will be this person who will be our everything. Because in our early lives, our parents were supposed to be our everythings. They were supposed to be really good at what they were doing. And if we didn't get that, we're still left with the fantasy of perfect care. And we transfer that onto our romantic partner because that's the closest. That's the closest relationship, and it most resembles our early life relationship. So we have a fantasy. We have these hopes, we have these expectations. We think this person should be all singing and dancing, um, and they're not because we're human, they're human, and so when I read that comment, we always have to keep an open mind. We don't want to settle for less than we deserve. We don't want to undervalue ourselves. All that is important. My instinct here, because of some of the language, is that the fear could be in play. Irritation, finding fault. And I would just leave you with the question, like, how do I feel when I'm with him, when I am in a good place? Because when I'm not in a good place, I'm so irritated with my husband. He's so imperfect and he can't stack the dishwasher. And when I am in a good place, when we're having peaceful times together, that is like how do I feel when I'm with this person? I feel really happy, content, peaceful, joyful. It's fun. So I'll leave that there and please follow up if you have any other question. And then there's a question about trust. So feel free to elaborate on that. But if I can um, surmise that perhaps you have been hurt before or you've had an experience before that damaged your sense of trust in people. And how do I learn to trust again? And that's a comment that does come up quite a lot. Um, the first thing would be to trust yourself and to build a relationship of trust with yourself. And that sort of brings me back to the who's driving the bus, because let's imagine we've got an inner child inside, a little girl inside, the younger part of ourselves. She really needs to know that there's an adult in charge of her life. She needs to know that someone's taking really good care of her and that she can trust me. So my inner child needs to know that she can trust me. And how do I show her that I'm trustworthy? I take good care of myself. I get good sleep. I eat well. I make good choices. I ground and root myself. I give her, I give myself time to play and rest and relax. I follow through on the promises I make to myself. I'm going to take really good care of you, and I follow through. So I trust myself. And then I develop a sense of trust in my intuition. And one of the exercises I suggest there is to look back through your life at times when you trusted your intuition and it went well, and at times when you ignored your intuition and it didn't go well. And just try and build up a picture of the fact that there is a strong intuition there. You do have a strong intuition. You have had occasions when you have trusted it. And then there were times when you ignored it and that didn't go so well. And we build up a connection with our intuition and our wise inner voice by sitting still, meditating, journaling, giving ourselves what we need, taking care of ourselves. And then trust in the other. Trust in the world. Like, how is your trust in the world? I know I grew up thinking the world was a really unsafe place and people are angry and they're going to hurt me. And I have to develop a sense of trust in the world by taking care of myself and not putting myself in situations with untrustworthy people, which I did a lot. And then I look for examples that people are worthy of trusting, that there are trustworthy people out there. So I look, I look to my husband, he's very trustworthy. But I look to other relationships, there are trustworthy people there. But it starts with me trusting myself and making sure that I don't put myself in situations that my intuition is telling me this isn't right for you. And often the situations that harmed us in the past, we can look back and we can see the slippery slope. It's not always easy to do, but I can normally see the slippery slope with my clients in my own life. This is the moment I didn't have a voice. This is the moment I didn't set a boundary. This is the moment I ignored bad behavior. Oh, it's fine. I rationalized it. Oh, it's okay. They're tired. It's okay that they shouted at me. They're tired. And that's the slippery slope when we ignore that little tap on the shoulder. Um, so I hope that's helpful, but please follow up in the chat if there's anything else. Let me just see. I think the child is in my driving seat when I get that desire to flee. Spend time together is good. Talk about things. Yeah, so that's a very adult response. We're getting to know each other and finding out if any of those irritating things are deal breakers. So if you've read my book, there's a section on the ideal, the ordeal, and the real deal. It's also in my group program. So what happens in a relationship that a lot of us don't actually want to do this stage, but there is an ordeal stage. There is a stage when we're rubbing up together and things aren't going right and he leaves the towel on the bed or all these things that annoy us. I mean, I'm not sure. This is the ordeal. We bring those things up, we talk about them, we communicate. Is there a capacity for intimacy? Is there a capacity for negotiation and compromise? And then we get to the ideal, ordeal, real deal. We get to the real deal, which is a mature adult relationship, not one based on fantasy. Or we get to the no deal if you discover that these are deal breakers. And this isn't my, I won't take full credit for this. This is Harville Hendricks, who's a very eminent psychotherapist. But I've distilled his wisdom in a couple of paragraphs in my book. So it sounds like you're on a great track and you're gathering information. That's what I say about dating. You are gathering information. You just keep gathering it until you've got enough to go one way or go the other way. I want to avoid the guy who's only looking for a nurse and a purse at my time of life, over 60. Never been married, no family. Fiercely independent, but a companion may help to alleviate occasional feelings of isolation and loneliness. Yeah, I hear you. So, um, and I hope that you can hope and trust that there are people out there who are looking for far more, or not looking for a nurse and a purse and looking for a lot more. Um, Fiercely independent is it's a phrase that, I use all the time. It's a very normal phrase for us to use. And I suppose what I would question there in order to give you something to work on, if you'd like that, is to think about vulnerability, your own vulnerability. Because I know, most of the women I work with have been single for many years into midlife or don't have families, don't have children, and are fiercely independent. And one of the things we work on, first of all, and it's at the start of my course, is softening, becoming a little bit more vulnerable with ourselves, with our feelings, like really getting in touch with some loneliness. That's entirely normal. Softening and then asking for help, being a bit more real with other people, telling people how we feel. And then, in order to avoid certain types, it's boundaries. Um, and yeah, I guess, you probably know this already, but going out and doing things that will bring you into contact with people who are living life, not just waiting for someone to look after them, like people who are doing stuff. But yeah, just instinctively, I would invite you to think about vulnerability and whether that's something that you might want to consider embracing and working on. Um, So I'm just going to wrap up this bit and then I'm going to switch the recording off. But just to wrap this up, um, if you would like more support, I am available for one-to-one coaching in person here in Dorset or online on Zoom. If you happen to be local to me, I am running an in-person dating event called Let's Talk About Dating, which is going to be the first of many, and I will do them in London eventually and elsewhere, but bringing people together, men and women and people to talk about dating. Um, so yeah, and hopefully create a few matches in the process. I also have a group program for women who are in midlife and looking to find a healthy relationship, and the doors to that are open right now. And I'll pop that in the email with the recording to yeah, to invite you to have a look because there's a discount on that right now if you'd like to join. And that group program is about supporting each other to date and move into relationships so that you're not doing it on your own. So I'm going to switch the recording off. Thank you, those who are watching on recording. Goodbye.